Okay, now we're going to model a 3D part. This part is actually called the plane, so I'll just check that I've got my project created and it's active with a tick, and we're going to open up a new part. So the first thing we want to do is create a new sketch. So we're going to find the XY plane, which should be the one that's looking at you straight away. Right click, new sketch. Okay, so we're going to create a rectangle, and like I said, I'm not going to worry about the size to start with. So what I want to make sure is that it's fully constrained. So what I want to do is I want to line vertically with the center point. So I've just clicked vertical center point. Now I want to find the midpoint. Okay, you see I get the construction line comes up. I want to align them one above each other. What this does is makes the part symmetrical. And I want to do the same horizontally. Now, it's come up with an error message. You see, I had that vertical line selected when I pressed horizontal. I can't do that, so I just cancel. It deselects it. Then I'm going to click the center point and then find the midpoint again. So now my part's symmetrical, left and right and up and down. Now I've got the constraints sorted, I can now put my dimensions on. So across the top, left click the line, left click to put the dimension down, and then type 80. You don't have to put millimeters in, it should already be set up in millimeters back from our getting started video. And then just tick the tick. You see it's now set the size. It's zoomed right out, so I just want to double click my mouse wheel to zoom out. Then I can click on the left hand side, click on the line, left click to place a dimension, and this one's going to be 120. As I'm typing, I'm actually going to press enter on the keyboard to accept that, and just double click with the middle mouse wheel. Okay, and I've finished with the basic sizes there, so I can click on finish sketch. It should have come out to the isometric view, but it didn't, so I just pressed F6 on my keyboard. Next stage is I want to extrude this 10mm tool, so I'm going to click the extrude button. Inventor is now looking for one closed profile. What that means is an area that's fully enclosed, in this case by the rectangle. It can only see one. There is only one, so it's picked that automatically, and it's automatically put in a size of 10, which is actually what we want. Just to go a little bit further, we've got this quick menu here, which you can move around if it's in your way. But then, like I did there, you just click the down arrow, it will reveal this more detailed window here. Okay, so it is adding material. I can go up, above the work plane, below the work plane, equal either side of the work plane, or I could put two different sizes. I could go, in this case, I'm going 10mm up and 5mm down, but I want the first one, 10mm up. I can hit OK there, or I can hit the tick there. The next stage is I want to put some fillets round off all four of the corners. So I'm going to hit the fillet command. Okay, again I've got a more detailed view here, and then the more simplified version here. But what it wants me to do first, and it tells me down here in the bottom left hand corner, is to select an edge. So I'm going to go around and pick the four vertical edges. Okay, and it will find that one that's hidden to me. Once I've picked all four, I can either grab this arrow and move it to make it bigger, or I can type 10 in the box. Actually, I want to type 15. And then when I'm happy with that, hit enter or tick OK. So now my plate has got 4 filleted corners. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a slot here in the middle of the plate. So I need to create a new sketch this time. So I can either click new sketch here and then click this face, or I can right click above where I am now and click new sketch. So this time I want a slot with rounded ends. Okay, and I've got some series of slots here. I am going to use this one centre to centre. Okay, now I do want it in the middle, so I could either draw it there, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it a bit above, get the constraints right, then I'm going to align it with this centre point afterwards. So I'm just going to click for the distance between the centres and then come down, which will give me my radius. I can then add the sizes, so 30mm between centres with a radius of 10mm. So now I've got that, I can finish the slot command, and what I want to do is I want to place the centre of the slot on top of the centre of the part. This isn't one we saw in the sketching basics, but it's this one here called coincident. So I'll pick the first point and place it on top of the centre point, and the slot moves. You can see now that it's fully constrained. I can now finish the sketch. This time it did turn, and now I'm ready to extrude. So Inventor has automatically found it, and I want to extrude it all the way through, but to remove material. So the first thing I'm going to select is not add, but remove material, and you'll see the arrow go the other way. I could leave it at 10mm, but if I ever wanted to change it to 15mm, then the slot would only be 10mm deep. So in this case, I actually want to change it to all, which means whatever thickness my plate is, this slot will always go all the way through. Okay, so now I have a slot. I'm now going to create 4 holes in the corners. I'm going to do it in 2 ways. So first of all, I'm going to start off the hole command. Now the first one, I am going to use this linear option. So down here, remember, it's telling me what I need to do. So I pick the face, this is where I want to drill the hole. Then I click on an edge as a reference point, and I want that distance to be 15. Now you need to be a bit careful here, because if you actually hit enter this time, it'll finish the command where it is. So you just type it in and then click the second edge and tick, and then enter 15. Again, and then the next thing I need to change is the diameter, and the diameter is also 15, and again I want it all the way through. Okay, because I'm going to do 2 holes, so I click OK, then it would accept that and close the command, but because I want to do it another hole, I'm going to just hit apply, and it sort of lets me start again, but you see it's remembered some of these sizes now. So this is where I want my hole. The first edge is 15, the second edge is 15, and now I can apply. Now for these 2 holes, I'm just going to change the way I do it slightly. In here I'm going to go concentric, so it looks pretty much the same. First of all, it asks me the face, the plane that I want to put my hole in. So again, it's the top face. This time, instead of clicking on the straight edge and putting a size in, I click on either the face or the edge of the fillet, and what it does, it will then place the hole onto the same center point. Apply, because I want to do it one more time. That face, that radius edge, and this time I am finished, so I'm going to hit OK. So that's it complete. But what I wanted to show you now is what happens when we start editing the size of our plate and what happens to the features that are on it. So if I open up extrusion number 1, which is where I drew this in the first place, I can double click on the sketch, and I'm going to make this one 200 millimeters this time, so it'll get a lot wider. Finish the sketch and the other items will update. So this stays in the middle because that's the symmetrical constraints I put in earlier. But if I edit the fillets and make them 30, you'll see the 2 holes I did by linear still say 15 mil away from these edges, but the holes that I did as concentric constraints, they move with the size of the fillets. So I'm just going to use Control Z or the undo to get back to where I was. Lastly, when we press save, don't change the folder. Remember, the project that we set up, an inventor is managing it. But if you give it a proper name, don't leave it as, in my case, plate 2, or yours might be plate 1. Give it a proper name, okay, because again, it will end up on your drawing.